Ford got rid of the base model Bronco Sasquatch and gave us something much cooler. I'll include a link to Murdoch Ford's website in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering this is a turbo 2.7 liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed, fuel economy 17 around town, 18 on the highway, with power outputs being 330 horsepower and then 415 pound-feet of torque. I'm trying to hit 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I'd really appreciate it if you'd help out with that. Now, there's quite a few bright colors you can get the Heritage Edition in, but I think this metallic gray is a lot cooler. And that's because it contrasts nicely with the white and the red elements. And it also doesn't get in the way of those elements too much. It makes them pop a little bit more. And yes, we do have fog lights here on the bumper as well as recovery points. And since this has the upgraded steel bumper, it's actually better than the old base model Bronco Sasquatch in a way. Now, our tire wheel setup is 315 by 70 by 17. You can see the wheels are white to go with the Heritage theme. And just like other Sasquatches, this does have the Bilstein position sensitive shocks and of course independent front suspension. Bronco logo there on the side, and you see that pinstripe continues all the way to the back. This one does have side steps, less for off-roading, but it makes it easier to get in and out. And while we're talking about fancy stuff, we do have a fancy painted hardtop. And like I said, with the metallic gray, when you put the elements together, it's a nice contrast. It's flashy, but not too flashy. Now this gets the normal key fob with your lock and unlock function, remote start, and the Bronco logo there on the back. Actually, it's keyless entry for the rear swing gate, but yeah, push that back a little bit. And this will allow us to see the cargo area. We've got a 12 volt here in the back. We have a cage up top that's painted metallic gray to match. And this is actually more spacious than a Wrangler, which is nice. Now, one downside with this is it does have the baseline lights, but they get the job done, right? And what's not baseline is the full-size spare. This also gets an upgraded rear bumper as well as recovery points out back. But I think, as you can see, it's got a lot of elements that the base model Sasquatch had, but it also adds quite a bit that the base model never had. Let's now pop inside. They do have some nice soft touch here on the door panel. We've got storage netting down below. And then I do like the Heritage seats. I think they've got a cool retro look. And what's not retro is this space. There's quite a bit of room back here. We also have automatic windows and vents for the rear passengers. If that wasn't enough, we've got really good headroom back here too. Let's now pop up front. And I've got more soft touch here on the front door panel, blind spot monitoring with the mirrors, 997 pounds of payload capacity. More cloth trim on the front seat here, and the seats are manually adjustable. You do get automatic lights, and then you've got nice trim on the grab handle. Let's start her up. Boom. Bronco logo front and center with nice soft touch trim all around the steering wheel. Practical controls for the center stack, voice command controls as well on the right side. On the left side, we've got our cruise control and volume controls. Digital gauge cluster here in the center. It's very customizable in terms of the information you can display. And this is another thing the base model never had because the full digital is new for 25. And while we're on the topic of tech, we've got a backup camera. It does have a little zoom function. When it comes to the infotainment system, it's quick to respond. You've got this auxiliary tab here off to the side as well. Just below that infotainment system, we've got analog controls for the radio, dual zone climate, heated seats too. And you got the cool little Bronco plaque below that, and there's little charging ports next to that. As we move further back, we've got the shifter for the 10-speed. It has the manual function there on the side. And then we've got our GOAT mode select. This GOAT mode select allows you to change the drive modes for both on-road and off-road use. You also have a part-time four-wheel drive system with four-wheel auto and off-road cruise control. Just behind that select is a unique situation where you've got all the window controls in the center and the mirror adjustment here in the center too, because you can take the doors off. Speaking of center console, good space, nice trim on the top. Let's now pop up top to look at the diff locks for the front and the rear. We also have trail turn assist. And if that wasn't enough for off-road kit, you do have 6 auxiliary switches to add a bunch of items, and this also has the top insulation. So here's our winter sticker for this Heritage Edition. After all options and everything, $56,320 is the total MSRP. Now Ford, of course, has discounts, and so after discounts, it's closer to $50,000. Let's take it out. My goal by the end of this video is to convince you guys that the Heritage Bronco is not only the true successor to the base model Sasquatch, but it's a better vehicle overall than what the base model Sasquatch ever was. So let me remind you of the pricing of the base model Sasquatch. This is 2023 pricing, because I think that was it was 23 or 24 was the last year of the base model. I can't remember. But anyways, 2023 base model Sasquatch, it's like mid 40s, and I think that was for a 2-door. Might have been for a 4-door. I think it was for a 2-door though. So either way, it was not that much less than what this is after the discounts. That's the big takeaway. The base model Sasquatch, although really cool with everything that it offered, I mean, you're basically paying the same price as what you're paying for this, especially when you adjust for inflation. And especially when you adjust for the extra equipment that this has. And again, we'll kind of round off the review by going over that. So, plop. Now, something that's really cool about this is it's got the V6. I think this is, within the new Bronco lineup, the most affordable way to get diff locks front and rear and the V6. Because again, the base model doesn't exist. Because this is it. So the V6 has tons of torque. The 4-cylinder is actually a really good engine. But once you put bigger tires like what this has, you know, re-gearing helps out a bit. But having more power also helps out. And when you look at, I've reviewed the Sasquatches with the 4-cylinder, and it gets like the same fuel economy as this. So it's like, if you're gonna get the same fuel economy or potentially even worse, you might as well have the bigger, more powerful engine. It's kind of my 2 cents on that. I love the sight lines on the Bronco. It's one of the things that I think is really cool, because obviously they're for tying stuff too, but it also helps out with seeing kind of the, it's not quite the edge of the vehicle, but it's more so. There's quite a bit of vehicle past that, especially if you get into a Raptor. Which I wonder if they're going to decrease the MSRP in other Broncos, because if you guys haven't seen that review, I reviewed a Raptor the other day, and they decreased the MSRP in the Raptors by like 10 grand. So I don't know if they're going to do other price decreases, but time will tell. Time will tell on that. So yeah, I mean, this is a nice drive. The suspensions, again, the Bilstein shocks aren't as comfortable as the Fox shocks that you can get on like the higher end Bronco Badlands, for example. But these shocks are more than comfortable enough, especially for on-road driving. The vehicle handles well. Again, the independent suspension helps out quite a bit with the handling, I'd say. And yeah, the tires aren't busy or anything. Like, you know, these are relatively aggressive all-terrain tires, but they don't. I feel like they picked a nice kind of sweet spot for something that doesn't travel all around the road and doesn't make you feel every single bump. Man, the torque's so good in this engine. The top end, you know, it kind of tapers off a bit. It's only got 330 horsepower for a relatively big SUV, but for an off-roader, it's pretty solid overall. Summing things up with the Heritage, I think this looks great on the outside. I think the interior is really cool too. The theme is awesome. The big win is the equipment. So again, you look at the MSRP, and this is like probably about $10,000 more than the outgoing base model Sasquatch. But the base model Sasquatch never had any discounts on it, right? You guys remember that time when Broncos were going for MSRP or even above. Now we are in a market where there's discounts, and so again, we gotta look at this for what it's actually selling for, which is closer to 50 grand. And so for slightly more than a base model Sasquatch, you're getting cooler looking exterior with the white accents. Like, this is a much more special looking vehicle. You're getting the steel bumpers front and rear. I don't know if you guys remember, like, the original Broncos had plastic rear bumper. So like, you're getting good bumpers front and rear. And if I remember, the base model Sasquatch even had a plastic front bumper. Like, they again, it was supposed to be like the cheap version. You get the Bilstein position sensitive shocks. Can't talk, not socks. That'd be weird. And then you get the V6. The base model had the 4-cylinder. So it's like, I think the value's there. Like, you're telling me that for the, you know, slight price difference of paying, you know, about roughly $4,000 more, I get a vehicle that turns heads, that has just as much capability, that has a better engine. Like, I don't know. I think that it's objectively a win for all of us. And so this is the true successor to the base model Bronco, but it's better than the base model Bronco. It's a little bit more expensive, but I think if you look at this for what it is, for the extra equipment that you get and for the slight price increase, I think the value's there. Let me know if you agree or disagree.